Good morning, and thanks again for listening every week. It's really nice. I really appreciate it. It's a little humbling to tell people what I think about faith, so thank you. I was thinking about, again, a couple times I've mentioned how God uses tiny things to teach us really big things, and I try to use that when I teach kids too, that from the littlest things that we can learn so much if we don't just ignore them or laugh them off. The thing that I was thinking about, and this is something I've thought about for quite a while, is how do I start this? We all have a shell, a protective shell, which I think God gives us. And when I go through life, I know, like, I've come to know myself. You know, you get to know yourself pretty well if you're honest. You know the things you do that probably drive people crazy, but you still do them. And then we turn to other people and say, oh, I wish you would stop doing that. I just can't stand it. And then so much of the world is about how to get people to be more like this and that. And I think that's wrong. I think that we're missing a really great lesson from a really simple thing. I think if God made you, then he made this protective shell. This is a tough world to live in. And so everybody has a shell that actually protects them. And I feel like once I got to know what my shell was, I realized that a lot of the things I do because I need, like dumb things, like I need to make the bed in the morning, or I need to, to water the lawn. And I just know I need to do it. So I'll do it because it's something I need. I don't expect other people to do these things because I need it. And I think that's the difference. I don't want to change. I don't want to make anybody, work for me or anything like that. So anyway, so I'm thinking about this thing about shells. And I had read this great book on the sequoia, on the discovery of the sequoia groves in California. It's just a fascinating story. And they didn't know it was there, and then I guess some people, this is during the mining, the gold mining, they wander into these groves. And, they did describe it as like a cathedral or a sanctuary. These trees were, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years old. And so they want to chop one down, And it's like, well, that's a terrible thing. We look at it now and say, no, don't chop them down. And they tried to find the greatest, biggest, grandest trees, and they gave them all names. And there was a World's Fair exposition in Chicago, and this guy says, I'm going to make my fortune, I'm going to cut this tree down, I'm going to show it to the world, and for whatever reason, because I discovered it, I'll have my fame. And what they did is they cut through the bark at the base of the tree, called girding the tree. And in so doing, they killed it. And that's all it took to kill the tree. And having done that, they realized it was too big to chop down. They just couldn't cut it down. And so, but it's too late. They cut through its shell, which stood and protected it from fires, from droughts, from storms and everything. And even though they killed it, it took like decades or maybe hundreds of years for the tree to actually die, to actually lose all its pines and fall over. And I thought, wow, or don't we want to, when we find something, we want to pluck it up and bring it and show it to everyone. And I think that's probably is a natural response, and so I'm always a little hesitant or wary of natural responses because that's, I think, the things where God's trying to teach us. And so it is with people's shells. I think, what is it? I read this also, that the deepest part of you is God. I mean, he is the essence of you is God. And everything that's built around all the way to your body, to your shell, to what you project out of it, still at the very heart of it is God. And I like that. I really like that comparison. So it's good to value your shell because it's protecting you, and it's probably protecting other people too. And I think in these terms where we're living, we can't really get away from each other so easily. And it talks about you grate on my nerves and things like that. And I think, boy, there's a really great opportunity to just appreciate that God made this person or that person with a little protective shell. What a great thing that is, so that they, just like you, can endure the world, the storms, the diseases, whatever, all the pros and cons. We need that shell. We shouldn't be so quick to say, I'm going to help you, to be like me. That's not such a good idea, because inevitably I'm going to break someone. I've had some experiences where we have a discussion, with coworkers, and all of a sudden you're expressing an idea and the other person is like terribly upset. And to me that really crystallizes, I had inadvertently pushed someone's shell, and so they were off balance and uncomfortable. And then that's a jarring disconnect from God, because we become very defensive. Anyway, I was just thinking about that. One of the phrases that I hear a lot, and it bugs me, is when people get together and decide they have to think outside the box. And that's just a great phrase for turn on and think of something that you have never thought of before. And that's like, and if you could do it before the meeting's over, that would be terrific, And I think that sounds good, doesn't it? Let's think outside the box. But the reality is, if the inside of my box is God, there's nothing outside of it. He created the universe, and if I really want answers, then what I want to do is I want to go deeper inside. And I'm going to find answers that maybe don't look like the solution. But if I trust God, I say, that really fixed the problem. That's just what I was just thinking about that this week. The need to look inward for answers. And once we try to project outward, mostly what we're going to do is we're going to rattle other people's shells and, like that tree, maybe needlessly wreck or destroy someone. Even though we might even mean well, but still, it's a fragile world. And just because something can stand for hundreds and hundreds, thousands of years, doesn't mean that there isn't one simple little thing that can just kill it. So we should never take for granted how God created us, and we should always think about that when we're dealing with other people. If you have habits and things you need, then those are things you need, and you should do them, because that's a good thing for you. But once you expect other people to become this thing, you have to do this for me, you've lost the meaning, and you're hurting someone. And we need not to hurt people. So anyway, I thought a great lesson from a little thing, although I still feel a little bit of heartbreak for that tree. Anyway, so live in peace within yourself, and don't take other people's peace away. It's just as precious. So anyway, so the song I have is I was so disappointed when we couldn't do our Good Friday cantata, because there's a piece in here, and it's Lord, I want to be a Christian, and the setting of it is Jesus, and he's got the criminals on either side, and the one, of course, is taunting him, save us, and the other one's saying, we deserve this, right? And he turns to Jesus and he asks for forgiveness, and Jesus says, you're going to be with me in paradise. And the song, Lord, I want to be a Christian, is just at that moment, he has already been crucified, and he becomes a Christian. And I think that made this song practically sacred to me, because it's just absolutely never too late, even if you've destroyed other people's shells. It's okay. We're just never hung out to dry. So anyway, just a little of Lord, I want to be a Christian. smile.